Hey, welcome to Broker Rehab. I'm Courtney Twiss with my lovely partner, Jeff Sutherlin, coming at us from Arizona. How's it going, Jeff?
Good. I love it when people say I'm lovely. Thank you, Courtney. I'm excited about today.
Yes, you're lovely. I'm sure your wife would say the same.
It does.
So, we've got a good topic today, right? This one I think is near and dear to Jeff's heart, and he'll probably be leading us more so on this one. But how to run an effective sales team. There is quite a method to that, and I can't wait to hear what he has to say about it.
Yeah, it's I think it's really pivotal for a leader to be able to run an effective meeting.
Mm.
And I actually learned how to run effective meetings way back when I was in corporate America, when I used to work for Intel Corporation, a high-tech company. And we were given 1 hour to have meetings. And if you weren't out of that conference room within that 60 minutes, people were literally knocking on the door, kicking you out. So you had to have a particular agenda that was effective for every single meeting. And we actually prided ourselves on running very effective meetings and not wasting people's time. So I kind of took that culture into, my real estate career. And I remember when I owned a brokerage in Chandler, Arizona, and we had 250 agents, and we had one big sales gathering per month, Courtney. And I would get every single month 150 people to show up for an hour and a half. And it was like a big deal. And it was one of the best things that we did once a month was our gathering. And I can kind of share what we did today as far as the mechanics of that goes.
Yeah, I can't wait to hear it because I don't know if you've heard the phrase of death by meetings, but I don't know how many of us have been to meetings that just suck or have even ran meetings that suck. Like, if we're being honest with ourselves, sometimes we might show up a little ill prepared and it's just wasting everyone's time. And you really should have canceled the meeting if you don't have something of value or that's worth their time for them to join you, right? But I think we've all been guilty of that over the years.
Yep. No agenda, no expectations, no action items, no clue.
No clue.
Yeah.
And your agents are going, why am I here? I could be out making money, getting some leads, and they're sitting there humoring you while you're struggling along.
Yeah. By the way, a good little best practice is occasionally to audit your calendar and actually look at your calendar as if you weren't yourself. And you can go, really, is that really needed? Or, one thing I try to do is I try to break hour appointments down to 30 minutes. Because a lot of us put appointments in for an hour just because that's what a lot of us have always done. Do you really need an hour? Right. So it really makes you get to decision making a lot quicker. So yeah, so today we're all about we're going to show you today how you can create a great sales meeting. It's effective. It's going to energize your sales force. People are going to walk out of there and go, dang, that was good. I can't wait to go to the next one.
All right. Well, where should we start?
Well, I think first of all, there's a couple general principles you got to abide by. One that I always abide by is I am not going to clutter up my meetings with third-party people and vendors that are doing sales pitches,
Mm,
right?
I,
If you want to, yeah,
oh,
right?
I hate it because they're just trying to sell you something. And you're like, I don't want to buy your product or service. Or if I did, I will reach out to you myself.
Yeah, the quickest way to get people to not show up to subsequent meetings is to start bringing in everybody else so they can sell their wares. If they are going to promote anything, I always said, you have to bring value. And this is what I want you to train on. You have to train on something that's going to help their business. And I actually gave him guidelines, Courtney. I actually had a vendor affiliate form they would fill out, and they would basically, it was a covenant agreement that they would not spend over a certain amount of time on the topic. And it would really made for a very crisp meeting, because if they were going too long and I stood up and I walked on the stage, they knew now's the time.
I love that so much. I think that's such a great idea.
Yeah.
That alone, where you got some nuggets out of this episode.
Yep. Because the other thing it does, it dilutes your culture. If you
Mhm.
start bringing everybody in from the outside, it dilutes your value. When you have tremendous value, they join because of what you know and the collective culture of the company. And this is what you got to always work on is your leadership skills and then apprenticing other people to bring them up because you want them to give presentations, right? Another huge nugget. If you want to do all the stuff by yourself in a sales meeting, you're making a huge mistake. You have to identify people in your organization that love to lead, that want to learn, because you learn when you teach. So you challenge people to teach topics that they may not even be a pro on yet, but because you're going to ask them to teach, they're going to learn it even deeper and they're going to get up there and get excited about teaching it. So that is how you develop a winning culture is getting everybody involved in the vision and the training of the company.
Mhm. I think that's a good point because that's the other side of it with a meeting. Yes, culture is strong and we want to love on our people, but I do feel that a meeting shouldn't just be a big old love fest of everyone chatting and going off topic or on a tangent. It's not water cooler talking time, right? You can still show your culture and pour into your people and have your people pour into one another with a structured agenda.
That's right. Absolutely. Another thing I learned in corporate America is whenever somebody went off on a tangent, we had the permission of the entire group to say rat hole. That's what we called it, rat hole. And basically it brought everybody back to the topic.
I like
And so yeah, I've done it to this day. I'm like, I don't really call it rat hole, but because they don't even know that terminology that I used to have, but I'd always bring it back, right? And as the gatekeeper of the meeting, you have to kind of do that as a leader because some people will get way off track, way off track.
Mhm.
Um, yep. And the other thing I want to share too, before we get into the nuts and bolts of the meeting, is a leader. As a leader, you need to work on your speaking skills,
Mhm.
right? You have to get better at speaking and improve yourself. So one of the best things I could recommend on that is go to Toastmasters. Toastmasters is one of the most affordable organizations you could go to, and you can go into that organization and be a horrible speaker, and you can come out exceptional and learning in your own safe environment and being able to network with other professionals that just want to grow and they all want to help each other. It's tremendous. One of the best organizations that I ever joined, and you'll improve as a speaker. It's awesome.
I had no idea. I've heard of them, but I've never checked them out.
Yeah, it's really awesome. I've sent a lot of agents there over the years, people that are deathly afraid of speaking, because like, what do they say? Speaking is like the biggest fear, like even more than dying.
Yeah, I heard that, which is
Yeah,
crazy.
I know, right?
People rather die than speak on a stage? What on earth?
Yeah, I know, right? So I think when you kick off the meeting, I kind of like to chunk it up into different things, right? That are really, I think, essential to a good sales meeting. First of all, you got to kick it off right. You got to do a good intro and get people excited. So think about your messaging. Just don't go up there or if you're on stage or even online and just start having no idea what the vision of the meeting is, right? I always like to lead a meeting with something inspirational because you have to get people into that state of excitement and that state of learning. um, Getting people into a state means that you're getting them pumped up, you're getting their blood going, right? You want them to be attentive and to show and to share expectations like, hey, like how on Zoom meetings nowadays, Courtney, you have some people that are locked in, other people aren't, some people's videos aren't even on, and I'm pretty like direct when it comes to meetings anymore. I'm like, I worked hard to prepare for this meeting. Can I ask you to, if you can, please put your video on so I'm not talking to a black box? I'd like to be able to see your face. And typically something like that, people start to understand if you're going to come to Jeff's meeting, you need to show up, be prepared, be present. So I think it's kind of a stage presence you have to have, and you have to expect excellence from other people.
I love that. It's a pet peeve to me when people don't have their cameras on. It feels a little disrespectful, and I know that's not what they're meaning to do. People are just probably, I mean, for the most part, it just means they're not really fully engaged and present. And I was just on a meeting, another group where Randy Bird was speaking, which of course you know Randy, and he made a comment. He said, "If your camera is off, then I think that you are either not present or you're going to the bathroom." And all of a sudden, everyone's cameras start coming on. I'm not going to the bathroom. I swear, I'm on here. No. And I just think,
Yeah.
come on, people. You could if you were sitting in a room, you can't turn your camera off. You got to treat Zoom the same way.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah. So, once you kind of get people to buy into that concept, you have a lot more success, getting them to be present. And the other way is by sharing a story or something inspirational. People always respond to stories. So think about, is there a story you can share? Maybe it's a recognition of somebody that did something well in your organization. People love recognition. There's an old saying, old men die for it and babies cry for it. And very few people are recognized anymore. But if you're specific, especially if you're a broker and you know all the deals that are going on in your brokerage and somebody did something really awesome on a deal, right? Take a time and write that down, right? So you can remember it in your sales meeting and you can talk specifically that Johnny did this, that, and the other in the due diligence time. And he really represented his clients at a high level. Because if you're just kind of speaking at a high level and you're giving them just some platitudes, but it's not specific, it doesn't mean as much. But if you actually take the time to like go a little bit into the details and share how Johnny did such an amazing job, that is a great way to start, is through recognition.
Absolutely. One thing that we used to do in my sales meetings was we had a pass the torch moment. And it wasn't at the beginning of the meeting, it was actually at the end, where it was peer to peer, where they recognized someone in our organization that was exemplifying one of our core values. So it was a twofold: one, keeping our core values fresh on everyone's mind and the buy in. And two, I think sometimes it even goes further coming from a peer to peer than when it's coming from the broker or manager to the agent. And we literally had like a little torch that we passed every single week. And it was actually my favorite part of our meetings.
That is so awesome. Yeah, sharing gratitude. That is really cool. So you did that for a long time then? Did that like just kind of set in? That was a normal thing for your meetings?
For years. For years. Hmm.
Wow. That's
And then
so
we highlighted it on social media afterwards.
wow. So just another nugget for you guys to do in your sales meeting. It's a good way to kick it off. And then I think another thing you could do right after that, so you're kicking it off, you're inspirational, you're telling a story, maybe doing some recognition, gratitude. Then I like to drop into skills training. People want to learn skills. And in real estate, we tend to talk about skills, but we don't practice them. And if you don't practice them with your peers, you end up practicing them on your client. Probably not a good idea, right?
Oh, nope.
And
Mine should be the cliche.
right. Yeah. So it's like role playing. Everybody always gets freaked out about how stressful it is to role play. But once you get into it, people actually like it. And so somebody has to kind of lead and kind of demonstrate that. The idea is you demonstrate how to do a role play, and then you get somebody else involved with you so they can practice, and then you watch them do it, right? That's the path of learning. So but I think anytime you can practice a skill is a good thing during a sales meeting.
So would this part be where you have a team member that you've apprenticed step up sometimes to lead some of those trainings?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Because the truth of it, Courtney, is there's people in your brokerage right now, as if you're a brokerage owner, that probably do some things better than you,
Hmm.
you know? And so it's your job to elevate them, right? And here's the problem. A lot of brokers won't do that because they come from scarcity. They never want somebody else to get more of the notoriety, and they want to be the one-stop shop for everything. That is the worst type of leadership you could ever have. You have to elevate people that are doing well and let them shine. Let them have a stage.
Or they'll go elsewhere to do it.
Yeah.
Just
I
saying.
mean, one of the biggest reasons why people leave brokerages is they don't feel appreciated.
Mhm.
So what a perfect way to appreciate your people.
I will say though, there's like a fine balance, or I've heard from agents that have left brokerages and are working with us, where sometimes it can be abused, where you have someone and then all of a sudden they're the one being relied on to teach certain things to other agents in the office. And I guess that comes from them doing it without getting the appreciation from their broker. It's just expected that, hey, they're good at such and such. And so they're going to show everybody else in the office how to do it. rather than asking or presenting it as opportunities. This is something that they actually want to do. I don't know if you've heard that, but I've heard agents kind of complain about that sometimes.
Oh yeah, 100%. Yeah, no, you're right on the money. You can definitely abuse it, and that's why I don't think you should go to the same people all the time.
Mm.
If you're going to the same people all the time, you almost have to think about compensating them, right? In my opinion, because if they're going to bring something to the table all the time, there needs to be some kind of ROI for them. Just doing it because you're a nice person, that gets old after a long time. And yeah, it definitely can be abused for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. Okay. So what do we have?
Okay.
Inspiration, usually sharing a story. Number two, you get into the skills training and or one of your up and coming leaders does that. What would you say would be next?
I think market updates is a good thing to do. I think that whenever you bring in market updates and interpret what's truly happening in the market, that could be really good. I don't think it can be too long because if you look at market data and statistics, you have to remember your audience. You have an audience filled with different personality profiles. So if you spend, 45 minutes on charts and graphs, you're in trouble. You need to hit the most important things. How does that impact them, and teach them something that they can do that can overcome that objection or that concern in the market. Whenever you present data, you have to show them something to do with it, right? So that way they can go out and actually know how to deal with these objections and issues. So to me, it's 10 minutes, 15 at the max.
So I do market updates with my team once a month. Do you do these once a month or is this like a weekly thing?
I do about once a month. Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Once a month.
Does
Yeah.
it
Cause
change?
I think yeah, that's just gonna say the market changes so fast all the time. I think 1 month is good because if you're really good at sales meetings, like I did these once a month, and I would literally start planning for the next sales meeting the day after the last one ended. I would start gathering data and I would create a Google slide deck and I would start putting content into that Google slide deck for 3, 4 weeks prior to the next one because I didn't want to sit there the day before the sales meeting and cram, and that's not a good thing for your agents. So I would start building that situation. So if you have a sales meeting in the middle of the month, you can take all the data from the previous month, right? The month ending, and you can dump that into your presentation and you could really be pretty much on par with um, real data, almost real time data.
Well, I'm going to chime in a little bit of what I'm doing because, of course, I'm using AI now. And it's taking me like
Nice.
5 minutes to do what used to take me so long. With pulling the stats from the MLS, I pull the one page report from Alto's research, I plug it into my chat GBT, and it spits out the overview that I need for my team. And then gamma.ai makes my presentation for me with my preset template. And it's like so fast now. And then I can turn that into my social content too. It's like, oh my gosh, it used to take me like a week to do all this. Now it's literally probably under a half hour.
Okay, that is a wisdom bomb. I hope everybody got that. Okay, so Courtney, you could do the same thing with a seller, right? Let's say you're doing a seller update to your
Yeah.
seller. Do you do any of that with those?
Yeah, I have some of that already automated through a different source that I've been using, but I do it for my listing presentations. I have it's very, very, very similar setup, right? With pull the comps from the MLS. I have a prompt that I've shared with my team that we use, and then we create a 3 option pricing strategy that we take to the listing, and our highest pricing option is the highest that we will be willing to list it for. And it has been working like a charm. And it's like super fast. And I actually just created a whole template that I shared with my organization where they can plug and play and use that.
Okay, so if y'all want that prompt, you need to reach out to Courtney.
Mhm.
Reach out to Courtney, right? Because we're here to help you guys. That's the thing. That's one of the many reasons I partner with Courtney. She's an AI expert and she's making it look easy and she's getting more time back to do the things she loves with her family. And isn't that cool, Courtney?
I'm a huge AI fan. I'm not scared of it. I'm excited. And I'm definitely not an AI expert, but I have made it my goal this year to become the best of one that I can this year, especially related to marketing, branding, and production.
Mm, so good. Yeah, you're the person I'm getting inspiration from. And you literally are mentoring me through this process. I'm just trying to keep up, man. Just trying to keep up with you, Courtney. So
I'll take one word. Lovable. And we'll do that in another session. But I love lovable. It is my new favorite tool.
okay, maybe we do that next time. That's awesome.
Now we're on a tangent. Now I'm taking this on a tangent. Let's go back to our sales meetings. We have inspiration, skills training, market updates, no more than 10 to 15 minutes once a month. What do we have next?
I'm going to go with organizational announcements, things that are important in the organization. It could be somebody got promoted, somebody hit a certain level of a new goal, things that are trending in the market, in the community, anything that you think is important to share. Even down to like what people are doing in the community, why they're being recognized. I think that's a good time to share recognition and note the things that people are doing in the community. This could be also talking about upcoming events, upcoming training opportunities within the organization. You could share updates regarding policies, tools, new platforms. You could introduce new team members, right? That was always fun, introducing new people to the team and asking them to share their story real quick. I mean, that is a great agenda item.
Okay. What about, and maybe we haven't got to it, but what about the numbers? Do we go over the numbers? Do we go like as far as like your sales for the week? Or, we're in a
Yeah.
culture, I'm going to speak very frankly, and this might not be popular, but I am not a fan of everybody gets a freaking trophy. I'm a sports mom, I'm highly competitive, and everybody wants to get a trophy. And I'm like, you got to earn that sucker. What's your thoughts on that? Because I find it very irritating.
Boy, boy, oh boy, I'm on the same page. So, speaking from a dad, he had a daughter who was a professional softball player. Yeah, I do not believe that helps anybody.
Mhm.
And essentially, one of my first things I did when I first started selling new homes way back in 2002 at a national home builder, I walked into the sales conference room. There was a whiteboard, a huge whiteboard. This was my first day on the job. So I was literally at the bottom. I was at the bottom of the list of like 50 agents. And I said to myself that day, I vowed that I said, in 1 year, I'm going to be at the top of that board. Okay. And in 1 year, I was at the top of that board. Every single day that I walked into that room, every week when we had our sales meeting, I walked straight to the board. I wanted to see where I was on the standings. Because here's the reality: champions love accountability, champions love competition, and people that don't, I'm not saying they can't be great agents, but man, you have to understand, people that like love that kind of stuff are wired to win. And so I'm all about it. And you know what? You're not shaming people. You're not shaming people. You're just giving them an opportunity to improve. You don't use it as a bully club as a leader. You use it as an opportunity to coach people and help them rise up.
I agree. You got to have some insight, some inspiration, right? Something to aspire to. And not to say that everyone aspires to be number one. We like to think that, but there's a lot of people that, maybe they have small kids. I had a lot of moms that have worked for me over the years, and their goal was smaller than someone that had more time to do 40, 50 deals a year. And I had no problem with that as long as they just recognize, okay, great, I'm on my way of achieving my goal, and I can still be very inspired and happy for so and so that's out doing double what I am doing. But I don't necessarily have to get a recognition every single week for that,
Yeah.
right? Like, put in the kudos where it's deserved. I don't know. That's my train of thought on
Yeah.
that.
I think you're right on the money. I can't tell you though, I had many people over the years complain about that sales board because I had one.
Oh,
And
I love
the mistake,
I love it too.
yeah. And probably the biggest mistake I made is I should have probably had that conversation with them as they came into the brokerage and said, listen, we want to let you know, there's many people here that are competitive with themselves and others. They want to really achieve great things in sales, but it's okay. It doesn't matter where you're at. I want you to be comfortable with your identity, with who you are,
Right.
and because your identity may be with being a mother, it may not be tied up into, going up the sales board. So I just think you need to explain it, like you said, and you're good to go.
Okay. So do you go over those after you do organizational announcements? Does that change every week? Where do you tie that in?
Yeah. To me, it's subtle. It's, hey, by the way, Johnny's at number one this week. He had a great week, and these people are coming up through the year to date. Just some, I don't want to go overboard, but I think it's good to show it. And the other thing too is you're dealing with 1099 people. You're not dealing with W-2 employees, right? You're not leading them from an authoritarian position because
Right.
you're not in a corporation. These are 1099 people, so you're leading by influence. So it has to be really positive all the time about anybody that's growing, and so the people at the bottom don't feel like they're, left behind.
Yeah. And cultivating the type of culture where those that are doing really well and are achieving some success are open to sharing some of their playbook with the team. Because I've also heard in so many brokerages where it's so cutthroat, people don't want to share what they're doing because technically everyone in the room is their competitor. So, how can you get the feeling of collaboration, kind of a family or a team dynamic in a meeting or in your office, where you still keep it competitive, but yet where people really do genuinely want to help one another? And I've seen it a lot with EXP, maybe because we're all so spread out and we're all working different markets, but it's like crazy over the top competitive. But I have definitely heard horror stories of other offices where that is not the case.
Yep. I think a lot of it depends on who you hire, Courtney, and the processes you have with hiring. Like when I hired people, I'd always do a disc assessment on them, but that's not enough. I asked them to tell their story, and I'd ask really thought-provoking questions. And what happens is when people start talking a lot about their past, that's a good indication of how they're going to show up. Because the way you do some things is the way you do all things. And so people tend to say things that might be a little toxic, or they come from scarcity. And if you see that as a theme, I've sent a lot of people away. I've turned a lot of people away over the years, and that's how I protect my culture. The other way I protect my culture is if somebody gets through and I didn't notice that at the beginning when I was recruiting them, and they're showing up really, really ugly, I'll have a fierce conversation pretty quickly with them because the missing conversation is the worst conversation. So I hire pretty quickly. People I have the hardest conversations first, and I nip it in the bud. And if it continues, even in my culture at EXP, I have no authority to fire somebody from my brokerage. I can't do that, but I can certainly coach them, and I can influence them to be successful somewhere else.
Okay, well, I have a question for you. We have had negative people in our organizations over the years, right? All of us leaders have experienced this at one point or another. What do you do when one of those type of people have snuck in the door? They're derailing your meeting with negativity because our market goes up and down, and there's times when you're having sales meetings and the numbers are not good, and everyone's kind of struggling, but yet you need to come in positive and keep them inspired and motivated. And then someone just comes at it. How do you handle that?
Yeah, we were given a lot of training on that, in several courses I've taken over the years as a teacher and a trainer. So one of the first things you should never do is argue with an attendee or a student, because if you argue with them, you're being drawn into their drama, right? And if you take the high road and you thank them for their opinion, people actually love that about the presenter if they handle themselves with composure. But if you get really nasty and you try to fight back with that person, the group will kind of turn on the presenter. The group can literally turn on the teacher, and they start to kind of take the side of the student. So the best thing you can do is be cordial, be gracious. And after a while, people tend to realize that that person's making a fool out of themselves, or they're just way too negative. And then you go up to them after the meeting. You go, listen, I don't think we're on the same page. I want to better understand where you're coming from. Is there something I'm not understanding or hearing? And then I want to hear them out. And then I would let them know how that made me feel. There's scripts for that. I let them know exactly how their behavior made me personally feel and how it impacted the group. Now, if they're a healthy person, they'll take that feedback and they'll do something with it. They'll
Mm.
improve themselves. If they're an unhealthy person, they'll go victim. And if they go victim, we're probably not the right fit to begin with.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes sense. Yeah.
That's how I would do it.
Okay. Love that. What about with your agenda? Do you send it out before? Did the team see it?
Yeah,
You do?
yeah, yep. Typically do. Yep. That way everybody sees it, and I try to make it good, right? And I kind of have like go-to people to
Mhm.
ask their opinion. Hey, can you take a look at this? Do you think this is really good for this month? This is what I'm thinking, right? And people love that. People love just to get their input and their opinion. Even if they're not given any part of the presentation, they love to weigh in if this looks like a good agenda.
Well, speaking of that, I mean, of giving input, I have found that, and I'm trying to work on being better at this, so we'll preface with that for Zoom meetings, but getting engagement throughout rather than having a meeting and saying, okay, we'll have Q&A at the end. Personally, I find it to just be such a better meeting if you can get people to participate throughout it. How do you encourage that? Or I know it's definitely different when you're having in person versus Zoom, which my team meetings were Zoom because I had multiple offices. So it was like a mixture of in person and Zoom. But it's a tough one sometimes to really get people engaged and participate and feel like they're being heard and that they're, providing value as well rather than just receiving it.
Yeah, if you think about it, Courtney, most of our meetings nowadays, I mean, what do you think is the percentage of video meetings you go to versus in person? It's like 90?
Yeah. Literally my
So
sales team is in person, everything else I do is Zoom. Mhm.
yeah. So we, 90% of our activities are online now. So we got to be extra good online. So I think that I'm an interactive teacher. I've always been that way. I'm a collaborative person. So I ask a lot of questions
Mhm.
and I do a lot of tie downs, during my presentations. Sometimes like on Zoom, you're seeing all these people in the chat and their faces, and I'll like just start talking to somebody. Hey Courtney, blah 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 blah. And after you do that a lot, people start being a lot more attentive because they're like, is he gonna call on me?
Yeah.
you know?
Is
And
that what you
so
mean by a tie down? Is that what you mean? What do you mean by
yeah,
tie down?
like wouldn't you agree? That's a
Mhm.
great tie down. Wouldn't you agree? Do you get what I mean? Do you understand what I'm saying? Those all those tie downs get people going, yeah, 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 they're giving you a thumbs up, right? And if you get somebody that's interacting and giving you a thumbs up, then I'll go down that hole with them. I'll talk to them, because they seem like they're pumped up and excited about it. So, you kind of go where the audience takes you. You gotta know thy audience, right? And
Yeah.
and that's the beauty of being a great speaker, and I get the beauty of speaking in front of thousands every weekend, because I'm a part-time pastor. So there's times, Courtney, where I've preached, where I preach 4 times on a Sunday. And
Wow.
so I preach to a older crowd at 7:30 a.m. Right. Then I preach at, and this is a traditional high church environment. And then I go to a 9 o'clock where I'm preaching twice in an hour to a traditional service and a contemporary service. So I have complete differences in audiences: older people, younger people, more charismatic, less charismatic, so you have to know what you're walking into all the time with your audience.
Right. And come prepared.
Yeah.
Okay. Got it. All right. Wow. Well, we've covered a lot. What are we missing? Anything else that you need for a strong sales meeting?
Yeah, you can tell this is a passion of mine. I love this stuff. Closing
Really?
remarks.
Good tell, Jeff. Could not tell at all.
I'd say closing remarks, key takeaways from the meeting, asking people what they got out of it. Um, Open the floor to any questions at the end, and of course during the middle. I agree is good too. But at the end, do you have any clarifying questions, anybody? And then a call to action. I'm always giving people a call to action. Okay, guys, this is my challenge for you this week. Boom. Like every single week, I do an accountability meeting with my sponsor in EXP. You just go to zoomwithjeff.live every Tuesday at 8 a.m. Mountain Standard Time. And what we do every single week, it's the same thing. We basically talk about what commitments were kept in the last week, what kept us from getting those commitments kept. And then we put everybody in different pods and breakout rooms. And then they share 2 business commitments, 1 personal commitment for the next week. And those 4 or 5 people are in a pod for that whole week, texting each other every day if they've hit their commitments or not. Right. So we lack accountability in this industry. And if we can give people calls to action and deadlines and they make promises, that's a big deal.
Okay. Well, I want to dive into this a little bit. So you
Yeah,
have
let's go.
this is separate from your team meeting. So you have a team meeting, you end it with the call to action, and then you have a separate accountability meeting every Tuesday, 8 a.m. This is for your organization. How long
Right.
is that last? How long is that meeting? 1 hour?
1 hour. Yep.
So you
We
have
get in.
approximately 180-ish people in your org. How many do you say show up regularly on that, if you don't mind me asking?
20 to 25.
Okay. So
Now,
they-
but
we-
here's the thing, not everybody is in my group. There's some people that are in my sponsor's other legs in his organization, but it doesn't matter, right? Because I so believe that in the EXP ecosystem, if I'm helping somebody in another state, someday I'm going to do business with them, just like you and I do business together. If I can help them win, I don't really care, what organization they're in. I'm going to teach them how to be accountable to themselves and how to keep their promises and their commitments. Because think about all the commitments with ourselves that we don't keep.
Right. Right. Yeah.
So we do it every single week. And and that's a good way to end the meeting, right? Give people a call to action and then give them a way to be held accountable, because we're 1099 people. By nature, there's nobody around us that's holding us accountable.
Mm-hmm.
And so we give them a place where they can go. And here's the thing, 20% of the people will show up, 80% won't. Because
Yeah.
deep down, a lot of people don't want accountability.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So what's the cadence then? So you have that on Tuesdays. What do you think, because this is debatable, is the best day of the week to have a sales meeting? Or your team meetings. I've had them on different days throughout the years. I've changed it. What do you think's the best day?
You know, I think Mondays and Tuesdays are hard because people are writing contracts from the weekend. I think Wednesdays are good. I kind of like Wednesdays. They've always worked well for me.
Yeah, that's funny. Ended up doing Wednesdays for years, and I liked Wednesdays as well. Just kind of broke up the week, and you could get some strategy going into the weekend, which I thought was helpful. But now I have my sales team and we meet on Mondays. But that's usually because they're younger, newer group that need help from what happened over the weekend.
That's
And how do
right.
we
That's right. Yeah.
contract and move forward? So I
Yeah.
guess it
Yeah.
depends on what's in your group, right? Reading your audience.
That's right. That's right. And one more thing that's important about this whole meeting thing, Courtney, is people learn differently, right? Adult learners learn auditorily, visually, kinesthetically, right? So you have to change your pitch, your tonality, your delivery. How are you going to do it? Are you going to get them involved? So you have to kind of hit all those different learning styles in order to really master the craft.
I agree with you so much so that I have built out my own assessment around that. And if any of our listeners would like to take it, let me know and I'd be happy to send it to you so you can determine how you process and deliver your information and communication style. And you're welcome to have your team take it as well.
Wow. So another assessment, they can reach out to you and get that.
Just call me Miss Assessment. You want an assessment? I will deliver. No.
I love it. I love it.
All right. Well, I think we have hit on a lot of really great stuff today. Is there anything that we have missed before we sign off? Because I'm ready to go make my agenda for my next meeting now. I've got everything that I need.
Well, guys, here's the thing. You reach out to Courtney and I. We've been doing this a long time. We can help you. We can help you win in your sales meetings. Wouldn't it be nice to walk into a sales meeting and absolutely crush it for your people and have them come up to you afterwards and go, "Man, that was so inspirational. I learned a lot. There's no way I'm missing one of these again." And that's what we can help you with. And we do always end these with one thing: broker recharge.
Yes,
Um,
I wasn't going to
right?
let you off the hook on that, Jeff. You have got to close us out and help us recharge our battery.
Okay, here you go. Here's the one I thought about for this week. So, you know how we plan our calendars and we plan all these events we go to for work and whatnot. Um, I would suggest you plan your vacation first at the beginning of the year for the whole year. Because if you don't plan your vacation, how many of you out there that are agents, you know this, you haven't taken vacation in like 5 to 10 years. I mean, that is sad. Okay. That is not good for your sustainability. So I'm going to challenge you to go back to your calendar this week and actually look at how much vacation are you going to take over the next for 2026 for the rest of the year, right? And get it on the calendar, because if you don't put it on the calendar, chances are you may not do it.
Like more than chances are, literally probably it won't happen.
Yeah.
Plus you had to plan around it. I believe in that so much yet. I'm looking at my big ass calendar that I have on the wall in front of me for the whole year. I have one in the office and one at home. Got to plan
That's
it out.
awesome.
Hmm.
That's awesome. Miss assessment. You got your big ass calendar. AI expert.
Let's go. Let's go. I'm ready. All right. Well, Jeff, it's been awesome per usual. And I hope that our listeners are getting some great value out of this and that you're following us on our YouTube and Instagram channels, Jeff Sutherlin Show and All Things Twiss. If you have any questions or you want the assessment or anything else from us, please just reach out because we are here for you.
Thanks, everybody.